Take a look at this dashboard. On the left, a worker operates near an unprotected edge. On the right, a worker is secured behind a guardrail. That single difference dictates survival in an industry where falls from elevation account for 1 out of every 3 fatal accidents. Scale this up to the environment of a modern Singapore construction site. Thousands of workers maneuver around heavy machinery, open shafts, and constantly shifting elevations every single day. The Ministry of Manpower enforces strict liability for these hazards. Under the latest regulations, a single safety lapse triggers a maximum fine of $50,000, and directors or safety officers face the immediate threat of personal prosecution and jail time. Safety compliance operates as a non-negotiable operational necessity. A single unprotected edge directly threatens human life, while exposing the company to catastrophic financial and legal ruin. To manage these risks methodically, we apply the hierarchy of fall protection. This 3D view shows a standard maintenance job, an HVAC unit placed right next to an unprotected roof edge, surrounded by environmental risks like high winds and loose tools. The common instinct is to grab a harness. However, the most effective control is elimination. If we move the HVAC unit to the ground, the worker never leaves the earth. The fall hazard disappears entirely. If we must work at height, we move down the hierarchy to passive protection. Installing a 42-inch guardrail separates the worker from the edge. It requires no specialized training and no active participation from the crew to keep them safe. When physical barriers cannot be installed, we use fall restraint. A fixed-length lanyard physically restricts movement, stopping the worker from ever reaching the danger zone. Only as a last physical resort do we rely on fall arrest, the standard harness and lanyard. Notice that the fall still happens. The system catches the worker, but they absorb the violent physics of a drop and require an immediate, coordinated rescue. At the absolute bottom of the hierarchy are administrative controls. Warning lines, tape, and toolbox talks rely entirely on human compliance, making them the weakest link in fall prevention. Let's test this logic. You need to inspect a high-pressure valve located near an open shaft. Before defaulting to a harness, what is your first move? You eliminate the hazard by moving the gauge to ground level. True safety engineering prioritizes hazard removal over relying on personal protective equipment and human perfection. Even with strong physical controls in place, safety systems degrade through a process called the normalization of deviance. Over time, clear safety violations, like skipping a daily harness check, become standard practice because they don't immediately cause a disaster. We can map this drift using the ABC behavioral model. The antecedent is a tight deadline. The behavior is skipping the safety check. The consequence is that the worker finishes the task faster. They are implicitly rewarded for taking the shortcut, which reinforces the unsafe behavior. Regulators apply structural countermeasures to monitor this drift. Construction sites over $5 million must now deploy mandatory video surveillance systems in high-risk zones, allowing safety officers to catch these leading behavioral indicators early. Accidents rarely happen as isolated flukes. They occur as the predictable result of a culture that rewards speed while silently tolerating escalating deviance. When unmanaged risks break into an accident, the financial impact follows the iceberg model. The visible tip represents direct costs like medical bills and workers' compensation. The massive submerged portion represents indirect costs, lost productivity, damaged equipment, and stop work orders, multiplying that initial expense by 4 to 10 times. Look at the math. If an incident costs $25,000 to resolve and your company operates on a 10% profit margin, you must generate $250,000 in new revenue just to break even on that single mistake. Avoiding these losses requires building a just culture. Management must draw a sharp line between an honest mistake, which serves as an opportunity for coaching, and a reckless violation, which demands strict discipline. Workers must feel secure enough to report near misses without fear of retaliation. High near-miss reporting proves the organization has the psychological safety required to fix systemic weaknesses before physical harm occurs. To achieve zero harm, follow these rules. Eliminate the hazard first. Use fall arrest systems as a last resort. Recognize and stop the normalization of deviance, and prioritize open reporting of near misses. Workplace safety is a deliberate, daily choice. The systems you build and the behavior